you this way and that way. And in 5 years, then there's a pot of gold at the end. And there's only 2 seats. And there's 10 people. And only 2 of you can get on. So the 2 of you guys, you're like, oh, there's pot of gold at the end? Sorry, pot of Bitcoin at the end? Pot of Bitcoin at the end. Yeah, you're like, okay, well, we'll sign up for the bumpy ride. What else do we got to do? And everybody else is like fat, dumb, and happy. And they've all got plenty of everything and they're comfortable in their life. And they're like, well, that doesn't look like a very comfortable ride. It's like, you know, a Jeep and it's a desert and it's a bumpy ride. We'll sit this one out. Can you just bring it to us? And it's, you know, what I said tongue in cheek about the FDIC statement. It's like, when every bank can hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet, well, then every company is going to borrow hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars against their Bitcoin. Every bank's going to buy trillions of dollars of Bitcoin. The price is going to the moon. You're not going to be able to afford the Bitcoin. When I make it, you know, a smooth passage, you're going to wait until there's a train or a plane that flies across the country, or you're going to get in a wagon and you're going to go west, young man, right? So I'm like, the joke, of course, is it's volatility, but it keeps going up. People are like, well, how else do you want it to go up, right? I mean, like, it's going up with volatility. So I think it's a benefit because it's volatility that pays off everybody that does the research and has any conviction. And it disproportionately benefits people that want to make the investment in the new world, and it transfers wealth away from people that are afraid of volatility. It's not really afraid of volatility. I mean, Amazon was volatile, right? I mean, a lot of people made a lot of money on Amazon. A lot of people made a lot of money, even venture capitalists, you know, accept extreme amounts of volatility. I think here you have an example of a liquid publicly traded asset, which is volatile, but in fact, it's still misunderstood by 98% of the public investors. So it's an asymmetric opportunity to buy something which is no less risky than investing in a big tech company, but much less understood. And I think probably the Sharpe ratios would actually bear that out. Correct. If we looked at volatility adjusted yield.
John, what questions you got?
Yeah, nice to see you again, Michael. So you have mentioned, and I tend to agree, that Bitcoin is digital gold and it's a store of value. I'm curious what your thinking is behind people, companies, and other countries using it as a medium of exchange. We've seen El Salvador adopt it. What are your thoughts around that?
I really think that for the next decade, the screaming home run architecture is digital currency as the US dollar on top of digital asset as BTC. And I think that every country really wants to move dollars around as the medium of exchange because 100 million companies have their accounting systems wired for dollars. And I think they want to use the store of value. And I think if you had $100 and $99 are invested in Bitcoin and $1 is invested in the USD, you have 99% of the benefit. In fact, it's not even that. It's like, you don't have to give up anything. If you have $1 million, you put $1 million into Bitcoin and you borrow $100,000 in USD, a stable coin, and then you pay your bill in the USD while the Bitcoin appreciates. So the net balance sheet ratio is 100% Bitcoin, but it doesn't make the currency go away, right? Like MicroStrategy's got more than 100% of its balance sheet in Bitcoin, but we still use the currency. So what I think will happen, if you really want Bitcoin adoption to take off, you don't want to squeeze out the stable coins. I think that the USD stablecoin is actually going to drive the explosion in Bitcoin. The use case of stablecoins up until now has been crypto exchanges settling offshore, right? They're settling crypto exchanges. We didn't use stablecoins at MicroStrategy for anything. We don't use stablecoins to buy Bitcoin, right? So what you want is you want 8 billion people to use a stablecoin to buy coffee, And you also want Amazon and General Electric and Apple to remit cross-border treasuries in stablecoin. And why would you do that? Because you can move money at the speed of light on Saturday afternoon for free. And right now, MicroStrategy can't move money cross borders at the speed of light for free. Would we move USD by a stablecoin? Yeah. Would we move Bitcoin? Well, we might flash it into Bitcoin for a second, move it in another second, flash it back into USD, right? A la, Strike and Jack Mallers. We might do that. But I actually think that what the world wants, not just the world, every consumer in South America, Africa would love to have dollars in their wallet. They would also love, they know that now. Everybody knows that now. That's 100%, right? Everybody knows they want dollars in their wallet now. So the US dollar could spread to 6 billion people. It would spread to 8 billion people if the Chinese didn't block it, right? It'll spread to all 8 billion people. Now, they don't all know they want to hold their life savings in Bitcoin, but that's growing at a massive rate. That's spreading like a virus. Every government knows they want to control their currency. The strong governments will. The US will. The Chinese will. The EU will. The weak governments won't, right? Afghanistan, Venezuela and places with hyperinflation, Zimbabwe, they will lose their currency privileges because they're weak. And who will they lose them to? To the dollar, right? So what I think is happening is you're just going to see an explosion in the dollar, an explosion in Bitcoin, an explosion in demand for money moving over lightning rails. If you could move stablecoin over lightning rails, that would accelerate the growth of lightning, right? Yeah, the killer application I want on my phone is a lightning wallet with USD stablecoin and then Bitcoin, and to be able to move either of them at the speed of light in a programmatic fashion. And I think they both win. Who loses? And this is the key. There's too much. The dollar must lose so Bitcoin can win. No, who loses is weak assets and weak currencies. Can you think of a weaker asset than Bitcoin? Every other investment asset, right? Especially gold, silver, commodities, land, weak value stocks, and big tech stocks. They're all weaker assets. So you see money flow there's 500 trillion of them, by the way, right? We have 500 trillion in weak assets. If you got the 10 trillion from gold, we'd be up by a factor of 10. So I think that weak assets flow to the strong asset, and then weak currencies. How many currencies in the world are weaker than dollar? Name one currency, fiat currency in the world, stronger than the dollar. None. They're all weaker. CNY is weaker. Every African currency, every Asian currency, everything. So 180 nominal currencies, a lot of them are pegged to the dollar, 130 floating currencies. They all can be replaced with the dollar. So who wins? Western banks, Western technology companies, Western hardware devices, the Western world, the United States, Western Europe. Who wins? Everybody that embraces Bitcoin, right? Who loses? The nation of gold, right? I mean, you want to declare war on something? Declare a war on gold. They don't have an army. They don't have an air force. There's no politicians running for office of president of gold. There's no city, state, country. No one is crying thinking that their way of life will come to an end if gold got demonetized. So if I had one request from the Bitcoin community, my request would be focus your guns on gold. Ultimately, gold is being demonetized. This is not speculation on the part of Michael Saylor. You have all the stats. It's been demonetized for the past decade, right? It doesn't have a country. It doesn't have an army. It doesn't collect taxes. There's not a single person on earth that is going to lie down in front of a tank to defend the nation of gold. And yet gold is the enemy, because gold is a dumb rock sitting. You can't mortgage your gold. You can't lean up your gold. It's hard to rent your gold or license it or develop it further. You know, gold is not big tech. You can't put gold on an iPhone. So ultimately, what you have is there are two things that should succeed and grow. The US dollar, if you live in the United States and you believe in Western values and freedom and justice, right, and Western law and the progressive movement, you want the US dollar to grow. And instead of saying, well, the dollar is like a problem to save in, forget about that. Just point out that if you live in Africa and Asia, you would give your left arm to trade in dollars, right? So the dollar should expand on lightning rails, and Bitcoin should expand, and they go together, and we all win. We all win, right? The world's a better place. Every company, everybody wins. If you're going to compete, by the way, if you're going to compete with Square Cash App, then you might lose. If you're going to compete with Twitter, you might lose. If you're going to compete with the United States of America, you might lose. My advice is you don't got to destroy the banks. You don't have to topple a government. You don't have to crush a currency. You don't have to stop a regulator. You don't have to, eliminate PayPal, right? You don't have to compete with all of them. You can buy Bitcoin. You want to compete with something, declare war on a dead rock, right? Declare war on the rock, right?
The rock has been losing for a while now.
And after you finish declaring war on the rock, declare war on dead property, right? Dead money, right? What are low velocity, I don't want to hold 500 acres in the middle of nowhere as a store of value. I don't want to hold 5 tons of rock as a store of value. I don't want to monetize these things. So if you start thinking that way and you think, I just want to take my monetary energy, put it into digital energy, and then I want to partner and ally with everything I find admirable, every great company, every great politician, every great country, right? Every great technology. Just be positive, be constructive, and we all go and we win together. The world will rebuild itself, right? It's going to rebuild itself. I would prefer that it rebuild itself in a peaceful, constructive, cheerful fashion, as opposed to, someone's got to lose so I could win. I think everybody can win, right? If we invent electricity and we invent math and we invent fire, isn't it highly likely the entire human race is better off because of math, fire, and electricity, right? I think, right? We can all win together, and so that's the way I see that.
Before we finish up, we've been going for 2 hours, but I know you and I could talk about this all day. If I just give you the floor to finish, when somebody says to you, why Bitcoin? What's your 2, 3, 4 sentence answer as to why has Michael Saylor, who had every option in the world to buy an asset and put it on your balance sheet or personally invest in, why Bitcoin?
Because I'd start by saying the human condition is elevated via the channeling of energy, and every great advance was a new form of energy, be it metallic energy in the form of steel or electrical energy or chemical energy. And Bitcoin is the next evolution of that, right? So the first reason is it's compelling and critical to the advance of the human race. The second observation is every successful investment idea in the 21st century was a digital transformation of music, digital transformation of entertainment, digital transformation of books, digital communications. Bitcoin's the digital transformation of everything else. Everything that didn't get transformed in the first chapter of the mobile wave comes next. So now we have digital transformation of gold, digital transformation of property, and digital transformation of energy. And for the first time in the history of the human race, you can literally take energy, transform it into something in cyberspace, store it forever, move it at the speed of light, program it, and eliminate the friction that is applied to that energy when it takes another form. Economically, energy is capital, right? We use the phrase capital. If you have digital capital, it's the digital transformation of capital, and capital is half of everything. If you sum up every piece of property, every corporation, the value of everything, it's all capital. You capitalized it. So if I capitalized everything and I stored it in 20th century instruments, I would store them in equity securities and bonds and titles to property. In the 21st century, I have the chance to capitalize the entire world economy and put it in a digital token we call Bitcoin. So why buy it? Because it's half of everything. It's literally half of everything, and it is the platform. It's the foundation upon which we build the 21st century economy. You could say 21st century cyber economy, but if you want to fix everything in the world, if I could eliminate the friction, move everything at the speed of light, make it immortal, oscillate it at 60 megahertz or faster, execute 1 million transactions a second and make it infinitely intelligent, wouldn't you think that that would be a good idea? Right? It's the future of capitalism.
There's not very many people who believe in this more than I do, but you may be one of them, because I think you and I see eye to eye on all of this. So I appreciate you taking the time to come in here. I appreciate you two sitting around and watching this entire thing, coming and asking some questions. They'll be taking virtual laps for weeks now because you even hinted at the fact that you may be open to joining their union. I appreciate everyone watching at home. Please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you to SoFi for sponsoring the Best Business Show. And we have lots and lots to go over after this conversation, but we'll be back tomorrow. And I think that's it. Go follow Michael on Twitter. I don't know if we've got anything else. I don't know if you
Thanks
need
for
any
having
more,
me.
I don't know if you need any more Twitter followers, but
I got one more question.
oh,
What?
Jesus.
Go ahead.
We talk about
Don't ask me what the price is going to be.
no, I won't ask you. No.
Tired of that question.
No, we talk about Bitcoin being good for business all
Yeah.
the time, and I think part of that is obviously the price has appreciated. So anyone who has been involved has benefited from that. But part of it is also just the community aspect of it, right? And how powerful that is. Is there a specific point in time where you were like, "Holy crap! Like this is wild. These people are really strong. They're really passionate."
I think that every single month that's gone by, I've just been more impressed with the community ethos. If you look at our press release, when we first bought Bitcoin and we said why we bought it, one of the lines we put in the press release is we're persuaded by the community ethos, by the community itself, that this is digital gold and it's harder and it's smarter and it's stronger and it's faster than gold. And I think that came out of all my research before we actually made that announcement. And the way you figure out the community's passionate is you do your research and you study all the influencers, you look at all the podcasts and you read all the books. And you couldn't come to any conclusion other than the asset is differentiated based on the community ethos. I even tweeted this. I made this point, and I guess I'll elaborate right now. I said, the character of the asset determines the character of the owners determines the destiny of the asset, right? The character of the people that own something. If you own like Joe Random Yo-Yo coin and you're owning it to flip it on Saturday night, depending upon which way a football game goes, okay, that's the destiny of the asset, right? It's going to be short term because the people are short term. Whenever you buy anything, you got to ask yourself the question: what's the character and what's the intent and what's the strategy or the belief system of the people that are buying the thing that I'm buying? If I buy real estate in New York, right, you'll eventually sell it to someone else who swears that New York is the apex city. People that love New York, their opinion is there is no other city on earth where you could go. Everything is a step down. They have a view of New York as Mount Everest, and they're living at the top of it. and everything. If you were to say, have you ever considered moving to another city? They recoil in horror. You know, kind of like New York is like the Rome of 100 AD, and there's Rome, and then there's barbarians. Okay, so that's the character of the asset owner. What's the character of people that own Bitcoin? If everybody bought it because they intend to hold it forever, isn't that the kind of asset you want? Or if I told you people bought it because they liked the monogram, they own that dog. Well, how many dog coins are there? 48 or something? Well, if you bought the 47th dog coin, then the 49th dog coin is eventually going to demonetize you. So I think that's been very clear from the beginning. Bitcoin had the immaculate conception, right? I mean, you can't recreate this again. How do you have an open sourced, asset that was never pre-mined, that was never ICO'd, that no one thought would be that until it became that, right? So I think that my conviction grows with time, but it's pretty evident in August.
All right. So what's your no? I'm just kidding.
Do you have a price prediction?
It's going up forever.
All right. Listen, I appreciate everyone coming. I thank you very much, Michael.
Yeah.
You've got a whole bunch of stuff you guys are spending your time on, so I appreciate you coming here, hanging out with us. And anyone who's got any questions, go tweet at Michael. He probably will not respond, but he'll at least read it. So see you guys tomorrow.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Business Show. I'm super excited. Today we have a very special episode. Myself